Since the day I was born, I have been absolutely in love with the idea of being in love. I think a lot of little girls had this experience, wanting to be a princess who gets picked up and whisked away by her Prince Charming to a far-off kingdom where she would be nothing but head over heels for all eternity. And more than that, it was about having a love story of her very own, full of drama, action, and deep, meaningful kisses that were life-changing every single time. To say that this kind of thing is important to me would be an understatement. It's more than the world to me. For those of you who like Milgram, basically, for better or for worse, I'm a lot like Mahiru. As I grew up, that feeling never went away. It never subsided. It never lost any intensity. Never. I spend so much of my time sitting around dreaming, wishing, yearning, fantasizing about who my Prince Charming is and begging for the day he comes to me. It's been such a big thing to the point that it's what I'd consider my second biggest goal. That goal only being second to creating something meaningful that will stick in the minds of people for generations. Yeah, I know, two very big ambitions for some random neurodivergent girl on the internet. And even though it's embarrassing, I've got to be honest, my desire for love is only a close second. Like, a really close second. Like, an extremely close second. It's the only thing I talk about. I literally say future boyfriend in 90% of my sentences. Me when my boyfriend throws a vending machine at me. I need a boyfriend now so he can fix me. Me and boyfriend. Boyfriend is my whole personality. I'm Sorgy. I need a man. I need a man to defend me. I need a fucking man. I need romance and I'll be free. I am a firm believer that we need to be our main supporters. But what about the supporter of the supporters? I need a boyfriend who will see this and smile because it's me. Like, I'd rather take a psychology major boyfriend who fetishizes girls with personality disorders because then at least he'd like it for real, for real. Me and my boyfriend, Dr. Veritas ratio. I need him so bad. I yearn for this guy. I'm lonely. I'm solitary. I need a boyfriend soon or I'll shrivel up and die. TBH, I need a partner who can be like, I don't know, I'm a dog and you're my owner with little treats and shit and you teach me how to be good and tell me what to do, but also you give me freedom and let me what the fuck? What the fuck? But that desire, it doesn't link up with how I work. It really doesn't. As a kid, I would fantasize about having a boyfriend, again, constantly. And one day I got to being around the age where everyone around me started getting crushes. So the little fantasizer that I am thought, oh, a crush? Princesses get crushes. I want to be in love like a princess. I want to be a princess in love. I need a crush now. So then started the repeated cycle of me picking the most mysterious boy outside of my class, because of course it couldn't be a kid from my own class. He had to be someone special. And not just telling everyone around me that I had a secret crush they had to get to the bottom of because I was an attention whore, but mainly sort of gaslighting myself into believing I actually genuinely liked him because I really wanted that fluffy feeling inside. Day after day, I would tell myself, it's that boy, I have a crush, so I have to feel something because I really want to feel like I'm in love. Every day, I forced myself to feel a little flustered when I was around him. Sometimes I did, but only because I told myself to. That wasn't love at all, was it? The really funny part is, I still don't know for sure. Maybe those feelings were real. Maybe that's how love actually works. I can't tell because it's all I've ever known. I don't think I'll ever know what the love everyone else mentioned feels like until I actually fall in that love. But will I ever fall in love? I'm kind of at a loss at how to put it into words. But it's like one of the only things I want, one of the only feelings I want more than anything is so far away from me. There's something my heart yearns for, something I crave to be fulfilled, and yet I haven't felt it once in my life. And knowing that other people have, I just feel so... there's something missing here. And it really has to be that I'm the problem, right? Romantic love is so abstract. I wouldn't be able to describe the feeling to you, but I've learned a lot about it through hearsay over the years. And if I had to simplify what I've learned, it's that people who have felt romantic love also can't quite describe it anyway. All they say is that when you feel it, you'll know it. And this statement has always pissed me off so hard. When I feel it, I'll know it. That is the vaguest thing I've ever heard. But it's poetic, and I'm a lover of anything and everything romanticized. But it doesn't help at all, because how am I supposed to know something I haven't felt for 19 years. This idea especially distresses me because of the obvious hopeless romantic reasons I've already mentioned, but also because despite me saying I haven't felt romantic love before, I feel that I'd be an intense lover. Like, really intense. So it makes it hurt even more that I haven't experienced romantic attraction and I can't give someone, I can't do it. Romantic love isn't all that's out there. There's also platonic love. That's how I know I love hard and would probably love even harder in romance. When I feel platonic love, man, it takes over my world. The way people describe romantic feelings when they properly can remind me a lot of how I experience platonic feelings instead. Maybe this is just limerence, I wouldn't count it. But it's one of the most intense feelings I experience regardless. And it hurts because I want to be able to love harder than that. Loving is the most pure feeling in the world, whether it's toward a person, a piece of art, a special day, anything. I want to find someone to love with the same intensity and endless appreciation that I do my favorite things. I guess that could sound objectifying, but hey, I don't treat the things I love haphazardly like that. Okay, this is gonna sound really stupid, but I want to fall in love in the way I love Vocaloid. Vocaloid has stuck with me forever. I listen to it every single day, and the days that I don't, I always end up thinking about it. Every song, every voice, every producer, every animation, every character design, every 3D model, every song fan art, every edit PV, every diva chart, every OC, every MV. Everything. I love it all so much. It's been such a huge part of my life since a very young age, and I can't imagine what living without it would be like. The feeling of love so hard that I can't picture a life where it isn't integrated into my day-to-day. That love is the same one that I want to have for a romantic partner. It's overwhelming, but also calming. It's consistent, but a roller coaster. It's fun, free, comfortable, exciting. It makes me feel alive. That's how I want to love. I want it more than anything. That was kind of a tangent. What was I saying? And then another one of my worst fears comes into play. What if romantic love feels like just having a friend? What if it's a myth that it's different? What if it's a myth that it's stronger or it's the end all be all? What if I can never have just that magical feeling because people have been lying about it? It's not really stronger and I've been getting my hopes up for something that isn't true. Even worse, what if I end up feeling that rush of meeting someone new and then it evens out and then I realize, wait, I'm not in love with you. I just like you how I like my friends, but you love me in a way I can't love you back, and now I have to break your heart and I can't handle that guilt, and oh my god, I'm Kazui too. So the way I see platonic love makes it even harder to understand what romantic love is. Literally, what the hell is romantic love? Not knowing feels so hopeless and empty. I don't even have a point of reference. Except, I think a way I can be sure I do have a semblance of what love feels like is because of fictional characters. In my childhood, I never got real crushes. I never fell in real love. Even if I tried to trick myself into it, it didn't work. But then, for the first time in my entire life, I felt something. And that something was a result of— oh, come on! This guy? This guy is what got you to learn romantic attraction, but feel like for the first time?
My god,
you and
so
5
lame.
million other people.
Oh, dude, you're
Come
so
on,
annoying.
at least be less predictable. He was everything to me. He was sly, cunning, adorable. Also, he becomes an evil businessman in the future. Truly, the most attractive thing a man can do is a little trolling. I could go on for hours about what loving fictional characters has done for me positively, but that would take hours. If you're interested in the topic of Yume or self-shipping, I have a whole video on that already. Please check it out. It's my favorite one ever. But weirdly enough, that put me in an even harder position because all that my love for fictional characters did was get me to yearn even more for a feeling I didn't feel in the real world. I got a taste of what romantic love could be. I knew what I could have, but no matter how hard I reached into the screen, I couldn't make it through. No matter how hard I reached to feel love, not even my fingertips would graze the surface. Real love between me and a real living human being. I couldn't have it. I could only have it with a drawing. That feels great, by the way. Sarcasm. I wanted love more than ever, but it just wouldn't happen. I didn't feel it no matter how badly I wanted to. There are so many things in the way of me being happy as a hopeless romantic. But the biggest obstacle had to be myself. Why? Why couldn't I feel it? Why couldn't I feel romantic love? Why did I have to constantly convince myself that I liked one random guy I knew? Why did I have to make myself feel love for him when he should totally be my type? What the hell was wrong with me? Were my expectations too high? Was I inconsiderate? Was I evil? Was I heartless? Could I actually just never ever feel this no matter how much I wanted to? Was my body physically incapable of it? Would I never be as happy in real life as I was in fiction? Would I never have that in the real world? What the hell is wrong with me? Am I just a worse person than everyone else? Was I just broken? I agonize over this every time. I remember that love is such dark, uncharted territory for me. I'd never be able to feel the one thing I wanted to feel most in the entire world. I felt hopeless, like a hopeless, unromantic. But then I discovered aromanticism. People have this misconception about being aromantic, that aromantics are all the same thing. People who can't feel romantic attraction, don't want to feel romantic attraction, and don't care about romantic attraction. But this could not be further from the truth. Well, actually it could, but it's definitely not the truth. Being aromantic is so much more than that. For some, that's what it is. They don't feel romantic love, don't want to feel it, and don't care much for it, and they're happy on their own. That's fine. But there are so many other subsections of aromanticism. A lot of people who aren't aromantic have a rigid view of it, not knowing that it's actually a spectrum. If you've ever heard of being Greyromantic, that's what it is. We are the spectrum. We aren't aloromantic. We don't feel romantic love in the same way a non-aromantic does, but we aren't the stereotype people picture when they think of an aromantic. We're somewhere in between, and there are a lot of other labels that fit into this. If you don't know much about it, let me go into some labels as examples. Firstly, you've got aromantic and aloromantic, or allo, I don't care. The two ends of the spectrum. Aro is the basic definition you probably know, where someone does not feel romantic attraction, and being aloromantic is basically just being not aromantic. If you don't relate to aromanticism in any way, you're likely aloromantic. But to be honest, I'm of the belief that most people are on the aromantic spectrum and just have no idea because they haven't learned about it yet. Normalize aromanticism. Normalize aromanticism. And back to aromantic, keep in mind that that opposite side of the spectrum does not have to include not caring about romance. It does not have to include that at all. Being aromantic is just simply not feeling romantic feelings. That's it. No romantic attraction. It doesn't involve being averse to romance or being sad that you can't feel romance. It doesn't involve that in the name at all. That's DLC. Now on to the Greyromantic labels. Demiromanticism is likely one of the most common labels on the aromantic spectrum, describing someone who is aromantic until they are very, very close with someone. They can only get crushes on people they have known for a long time, not by choice, but uncontrollably. With demiromanticism, there's no such thing as love at first sight or crushes on the mysterious girl in the class they've never talked to. Some demiromantics take months to finally experience the possibility of a romantic click with someone. Some take years. It all depends. Basically, by the time an aloromantic has already confessed to their crush, a demiromantic only starts to feel a certain way about the person they know. If you need an example, a really basic one my sister jokes about all the time is Joey from Friends. He never experiences any serious romantic feelings for Rachel, even though they've known each other the entire show. And then suddenly one day, just boom, he's head over heels for her. I am JoChul fan number one. Yes, I call them JoChul. For my regular viewers who aren't into sitcoms like Friends, let me put it like this. Think about Rui Nene. They've known each other basically their entire lives. So picture them as if Rui feels nothing romantic for Nene until like the Valentine's Day event she was featured in. And it's not a realization of, oh my god, I've been in love with Nene the whole time, but instead it's a, oh my god, I think I have a crush on Nene now. Make sense? Another label is aroflux. It's kind of straightforward, describing someone whose romantic attraction fluctuates around the aromantic spectrum rather than sticking in one place all the time. Depending on the day, someone who is aroflux might relate a lot to full-on aromanticism, or they may feel closer to demiromanticism, or they may feel closer to aloromanticism. The only thing consistent about this label is that it is always inconsistent. Personally, I think this label is a really great one if you don't know how to feel about your romantic attraction yet, but you know for sure that you're not 100% alo. It allows you to freely identify with a lot of a spectrum and explore without feeling tied down to one definition. And hey, it's not just a starting point. A lot of people are just aroflux for whatever reason or another. Also, labels aren't only based on the levels people feel attraction, they can also be based on the way people feel their levels of attraction. That sounds kind of confusing, so let me describe two more labels to you: agoromantic and cupioromantic. Being agoromantic describes someone who is aromantic but loves the idea of romance. They're like if a hopeless romantic lacked the hopelessness because they don't personally yearn for a romantic relationship. They love the concept of romance, the aesthetics of it, the way it plays out with other real or fictional people, but they don't desire to have any real romantic relationship. They're the wingman that's desperate to see you kiss your slow burn crush while not having a crush themselves or ever wanting one. An example of this is like the one character from the show I don't watch, Seiji Maki from Bloom Into You. Again, I don't watch it, so I might be completely wrong about all this, but from what I've heard, he's the type who loves, supports, and really wants to see the main couple be happy together, but doesn't yearn for a romantic partner himself. Classic agoromantic. Cupio-romantic, on the other hand, is a label that's similar but completely opposite to agoromantic. Where an agoromantic feels no attraction and doesn't want a relationship, a cupio-romantic feels no attraction and really wants a relationship. Okay, maybe not all of them are that intense about it, but yeah, it's someone who wants a relationship but can't feel romantic attraction at all. Could I actually just never ever feel this no matter how much I want it? But I wouldn't say I'm Cupio because, again, I can't know for sure whether or not I can or can't feel romantic attraction yet. And being Cupio involves being aromantic but still wanting a relationship. It'd be more like Grey Cupio. Cupio Grey. Demi-Cupio is actually the label I came up with for myself a few years back. Here's the flag I made, I think it's really cute. But also, being Cupio-romantic doesn't have to be a sad experience of yearning while being unable to feel the exact feeling you yearn for. It can also describe someone who wants a romantic relationship, but not for romantic reasons. To aloromantics, that may be confusing, but what they're yearning for in a quote-unquote romantic relationship isn't the feeling of romance. Instead, it's a strong companionship that doesn't have to be related to love. It can be a platonic feeling, often along with physical affection like cuddles and hand-holding, going on dates, all the stereotypical couple stuff that people who are romantically in love do. If you know what a QPR or quasi-platonic relationship is, that's a great example of what a QPR romantic couple could look like. But note that QPRs aren't restricted to QPR romantics. Anyone can be in a QPR, even if you're not aromantic. There are tons, and I mean tons, of other aromantic labels out there. Lithromantic, qua-romantic, disakoi romantic, fray romantic, aerospike, anything you could possibly imagine to describe how you experience romantic attraction or lack thereof. When I first discovered aromanticism, I was really young, like known about it my whole life young. Being a kid who was in online spaces that were accepting of people of many different identities meant being exposed to and learning about them. But even then, I had the same view of it that many who aren't aromantic did, that it was just not feeling romantic attraction and not caring at all. Because we tend to detach ourselves from the label and turn it into something untouchable rather than something more open like the spectrum it is. And it also doesn't help that people both outside and inside the aromantic community don't discuss aromanticism and perpetuate the idea that it's just this one thing. Learning about all these different identities, there was never much talk about aromanticism in the first place, and when there was, it was really simplified, dumbed down posts that only portrayed the very far end of the aromantic spectrum. Stupid jokes like, having a crush? Nah, I like to spend my time doing things that actually have value, like drawing dragons and eating pizza and drinking warm milk. Jokes that completely generalize being arospec. It's not a spectrum anymore, it's just the one thing, and when that's the only thing people hear about being aromantic, it just keeps perpetuating that same idea that it's this one thing. So for a long time, I never considered that the way I experienced romance, or didn't experience romance, could have been a result of being arospec. Which is why it's so important to talk about these identities. If any in this video sounded relatable to you, I highly recommend doing research about them. The same goes for ace-spec identities. I'm just not talking about my experience with aceness too much in this video because that would require talking about Super Happy Fun Time Deluxe, and I'm really not trying to get demonetized here. But if the schools won't teach you about romantic and sexual attraction, please teach yourself. Very, very, very important. It's so much more important than you could ever imagine it to be, especially if you're young and you haven't had any experiences like this yet. You really need to know about it. It's for your safety and also for your happiness. Please, please, please do some research if you feel like you really should, and even if you don't. After finding all this, the spectrum, all this, you'd think something would change for me. I mean, I implied that with the transition from saying I felt hopeless to talking about aromanticism, but really, it didn't change anything about how I felt. But before I go on, first, let me get this out of the way. Discovering aromanticism was a part of my life that I really, really needed. With learning about my label, I discovered a whole community of people who felt like me too. It's so much harder to feel broken when there are so many people around you who feel the same way and can reassure you that you're not broken. You're just different. Aromanticism, again, isn't this untouchable thing. It's just experiencing romance differently than others do, or not experiencing it at all. And what's so wrong with variety in this world? Nothing makes anyone less human or more faulty when compared to another, because though it sounds corny, our differences and the community we find through the empathy given to those differences are the most human thing of all. Something as simple as searching demi-romantic feeling hopeless into Google and reading the stories of people who are like you and replies to those stories telling them that they're going to be okay? Nothing is more heartwarming and comforting than that. And with this community, it's so much easier to feel empowered for how I feel and who it makes me, rather than be bogged down by it. Finding a label also helped me a ton too, because it let me find a way to get across how I feel without having to explain this whole mess of emotions. But while the community helped me greatly and the descriptor allowed me to quantify my emotions more properly, finding a label to tack onto my experience didn't make the experience itself any different. In fact, it kind of made it hurt even more. I felt like I was just accepting the way I was instead of trying to change it. I was calling it this big, unalterable thing instead of holding out hope that maybe I just haven't met the right guy or something. But that notion is wrong. Being aromantic doesn't have to be a hopeless thing, and even then, identity should be able to change over time. You don't have to stick with the one thing of fear of being wrong about who you were. If you find yourself attracted to somebody you didn't expect to be attracted to, there's nothing wrong with changing your identity up. Because while the way you feel may or may not be fluid, an identity will always be able to change. But it's just hard to shake the feeling off when you're dreaming for something so unattainable like love. But you know, earlier in the video, I mentioned how I want to experience love, how I want to love in the same way that I love Vocaloid. And it got me thinking, this love that I crave to have for another human being so badly, this feeling that I want to experience so bad, I really do already feel it, don't I? Sure, it isn't being reciprocated. That's a part of love that I may never feel fulfilled in. But when it comes to getting to love with never-ending fervor, I already have that. Like I mentioned, I have it with Vocaloid. There are songs so good, so mind-bogglingly exciting that I'm left feeling like I caught a glimpse at the cute boy from the neighboring class. I have it with the games I love. There are stories so important to me that have etched themselves into my heart for years upon end, that I feel like I'm telling my friends about the date I went on with my soon-to-be fiancé. I have it with so many movies, shows, songs, animations, where every time I see them replaying in my mind's eye, I get that grip in my chest telling me, you're the one who I'd give my life for. You're the one who I love more than anyone else on this earth. I guess those I don't get crushes because I've got better things to do jokes aren't completely tone deaf, because, man, I don't know for sure if I can or can't feel romantic love. Like people say, I'll never know until I feel it. But even if I want it so badly, I've got other things to do. Like drawing Hatsune Miku and listening to Vocaloid and loving it so much that it fills my heart with a love so overwhelming. It's like I'm walking down the aisle on my wedding day. Don't let that ending make you get things twisted. I am still, have been, and will always be a hopeless romantic. I have not yet accepted the fact that a man may never sweep me off my feet and hug me and show me love and kiss me and grow old with me. What it does mean is that while I still dream of romance, I appreciate the love I do have in my life. It matters more than any hypothetical love, because God, that feeling of listening to a really good song, if that can be outmatched by a measly man, he's Gakupo, or Kaito, or VY2. And if he's real, he's too good to be true. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Cue me saying, this topic was really important to me, blah, 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 like I do at the end of all my videos now, because I am the queen of hyperbole. Actually, no. Seriously, it isn't hyperbole. Never has been, because I really do mean it. Thank you so much for being here with me. Make sure to keep living, because it's the only way things can get better, and it's the only way to feel that rush of love when you experience something that means the world to you. See you next time. Bye-bye. It's gonna burn my tongue if I try to drink it now, but